All right, guys, so what we're looking at here is if you've been assigned to be a room supervisor, we're going to go over not just your responsibilities, but more or less what you're going to have to do on test day. Because quite honestly, because we give the test online, most of the things that you're going to do require you to go online and be familiar with the things that you're going to do. And I will say, as we get into it, the system that we use is fairly not user-friendly at all. And so we'll go through all of these steps, but what I would expect you to do if you've been assigned to be a room supervisor is I do expect you to go onto the system ahead of time and just kind of play with it. There's very few things that you can do as a room supervisor that are going to affect the test in any way, shape, or form. So just kind of go in and look around in the system. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So overall, honestly, your responsibilities as a room supervisor are, at the very end, you just need to make sure that every test that was taken gets marked completed. We talked about this in the first video, but ensuring all your paperwork is correctly filled out. So that there's a 4-page thing that you need to fill out. And then you also return the testing materials to the library. And actually, we might change that. I might change that room because testing will be taking place in the library. I'll probably just make that be the office instead. So we're going to have you bring that stuff down to the office. And we'll remind you of that once our briefing is done on the day of the test. Okay? So honestly, what we're going to do now is we're just going to kind of walk you through what you're going to do. And honestly, I know it says don't screw anything up. It's really hard to screw anything up anyway, so don't worry about it too much. So there are a bunch of tasks that you need to do to give the test, and most of these take place the day of the test. Again, it's not a system that you need to be super familiar with, but you need to be familiar enough. So let's run through the responsibilities, okay? The first thing that I would very highly recommend, in fact, if you want to do this today or any time soon, go to testadmin.act.org and look around the site, okay? Everything that we've talked about as far as the rules go still apply. Your job is just to make sure that the students take the test, and this is using the system ensures that, okay? Also, you'll have a proctor moving back and forth with you, and we'll talk about in a different video what the proctor's responsibilities are, okay? The very first thing that you'll do once test day comes around is you will go and you will retrieve the seal codes for your room. Now, technically, you can go and look at the seal codes whenever you want. I've been told that they regenerate every day, so you don't have the same seal codes every day. I don't know if that's true or not, but basically what a seal code is it makes it so until you give the students this particular number, even if they try to go take the test, they cannot do that. It's like a password, if you will, that you give to the students that are assigned to your particular room, and it makes it so students can't actually accidentally go into the wrong test as well. Okay, so the first question that we need to answer is how do you get the seal codes? This is in your room supervisor book. I think it's page 56. It might be a slightly different page, but we're going to walk through it right now anyway. Okay, so when you first log on, this is the screen that you see every single time. So it'll say setup, testing, and reports. What you're going to do is you are going to click on the testing icon right there. And from that, you will select, from that drop-down menu, there are 3 or 4 options. You are going to select the sessions from the drop-down menu. Now again, if you want to be watching this video and pause it and go and try these things while I'm talking about it, that works totally fine as well. So once you go into that and you get to sessions, what you will see is a huge list of all the rooms. And one of the rooms will have the room that you are supervising. If you are a room supervisor, it should have your name next to it as well. So you'll go and find your room and you'll check the box next to it, okay? Once you do that, so you'll just check one of these boxes, just click on it and you'll get it checked. Once you do that, you're going to go up to this drop-down menu right here, the Select Tasks drop-down menu. From that drop-down menu, you are going to choose, don't click any of the boxes, just choose the Show Students in Sessions and Control Sessions option. Once you do that, it will bring you to a screen that looks like, there'll be a bunch of other stuff on the screen. And well, there won't be a ton of things, but on one of the sub-menus, you'll see something like this. If this was Miss Bliss's room, she would go and find where it says, there should only be one thing there. So you would click on her room, and then at the bottom of the screen, a bunch of names will appear. So over here, you'll have what you just saw right there, and then down here will be all the names of the students. What you're going to do is up top, it might say prepared, actually, it probably won't say not prepared, it'll probably say prepared. And what you'll do is you'll click on resources. So there'll be this thing right here that says resources, and when you click on that, you'll notice it says seal codes. So you click on that seal codes as your choice, and this screen pops up, okay? Now, again, it's important, and ACT really stresses that you cannot make it so that the kids see where the seal codes are. So basically, what you'll do is you'll find these seal codes. There should be 4 of them. We won't have the writing one this time. You'll see 4 different numbers, okay? You'll have the seal code for English, then math, then reading, then science. So once it comes time to give the seal codes to the students, you should get these the morning of the test, and you will give these to the students when they get ready to take that test. So now that you have the seal codes, what you're going to do is you're going to go and unlock your test session. Now, this will not be something that you can do when you go in and kind of explore around in the system, okay? What you'll have to do to unlock your test session is you'll choose Sessions again from the drop-down testing icon at the top this time, okay? So you go to Sessions, choose that one right there, and then what you're going to do is click on that same Show Students in Sessions and Control Sessions option, okay? Once you do that, it should say you need to verify that everybody's name has a ready next to it. And it might be locked, it should be locked to start with, but it should say ready next to all of those students. Okay, and that all of those should say ready right there. Now what you have to do, and this will only be there on the day of the test, it won't be there before, but you're going to, this little slider right here should be at lock to start with. You will unlock it by taking that slider and moving it over. Once you do that, it makes it so the students can actually access their tests. Until that point, there's no way that they can even pull the test up even if they had the lock code because it's not unlocked yet. Okay? So the only thing is that should be there a day or 2 ahead of time. Do not slide that thing over ahead of time. And we can see if you've accidentally done that. If you do that, just let me know and we can figure something out and create a new room. It shouldn't be a big deal. I'm just asking that you don't. Okay? So now your test is ready to be administered, and you'll go to page 71 and start reading the instructions for the no writing portion. Okay, so you, again, kind of what was said earlier, you do need to follow all of the prompts exactly as they are written. One really nice thing about the online test is you don't have to keep time. The system does that for you. About the only thing you really want to really try and stress is that all of the students hit start the test at roughly the same time, because you can't start the next test until everybody in your room is finished with the previous test. Okay? So between you and your proctor, just make sure you'll probably have 15, maybe 16 people in your room. Just make sure everybody hits start as close to the same time as possible. Okay? The other thing that you need to make sure that you do is do not choose to stop the test session until the very end of the test. That is not your responsibility to hit stop test session. Okay? The reason why we do that, if you choose stop test session and let's say a student gets excused for whatever reason, maybe they're sick or something, if you hit stop test session and I have not removed them from that session yet, they cannot take the test on the makeup day. It's a very important thing they got to make sure that you have down. Okay? Once the test is completed, just slide that little slider back to lock, and you are all done. And then you just have to fill out the paperwork while you're giving the test. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about in this video is how to get the students signed in. Most of you will be using Chromebooks. If you're using a Chromebook, do not have them log into the Chromebook. Instead, what you do is you locate the apps before a student logs in, and then on the desktop, once they choose apps, you just choose the test nav icon. It'll look exactly like what you see on your screen there. Many of you have it on your own computer in your room, but on the Chromebooks, do not have them log in, okay? From there, the information that the students need to log in will be on the pieces of paper that you are given previous to the test, one per student, that tells them their username and their password. Okay, so you would just give them this piece of paper. Their name will just be written right up here. You give that to each of the students, and they use that as their login information. And there it is right there. Okay. If you are getting on a desktop, and a few of you I know will be using desktops, not many, especially with accommodations, you'll be logging onto a desktop instead. What you will do is you do have the students log in, and they should have the test nav as an option, just one of the icons that they have once they log onto the computer. Okay. Now, honestly, the last thing that you need to know is students that are not there, that we remove from the room, we will try and test them on March 30th. That doesn't mean that we won't have school on that day. It just means that we will be pulling those kids out of class to try and administer the makeup test. We're hoping there won't be very many, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay? The last thing that you need to know as a room supervisor is you are responsible for administering the break. So there's one break during the test. It's about 15 minutes long. You give the first two tests, and it's time to take a break. They can use the restroom. They can talk to each other. They can get a drink, but they cannot use their cell phone. So that'll be the other thing that is you are responsible for, is making sure that they don't use their cell phone. Okay? So again, if you have any questions about any of these things, especially if you're a room supervisor, because there are a fair amount of things that you have to do, please let me know. Put them in the comments below or email me directly, and I can help you out knowing what it is that you need to do.